Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond Food Market Podcast number 2. So, guys, my first episode of the podcast, I was like, I want to do this, and that. But I've been thinking over this whole week, what I really want to do is start just podcasting my journey, like what I'm doing. So, guys, stick around if you want to see an idea turn into a company. And then when we turn into a company, then I'll start doing the podcast stuff about all the other things. But for right now, let's just podcast about me. So maybe I'll be doing this like a once a week podcast. So stick around, subscribe, and let's go. So guys, let's talk about where I'm at. Let's talk about this whole thing from the beginning. It's a podcast, so let's do it, right? So I was born in Chicago, raised on the southwest side of Chicago, was always tired. My whole life I was tired, like literally tired. I mean tired. And later I discovered that was a gluten intolerance, like about 10 years ago. Went vegan recent. I was always sick as a child. When I was, so I'm gonna tell you the whole. Let me tell you what I'm gonna do. The whole idea of Beyond Food Market is I want to bring plant-based foods into underserved communities. So guys, I recently, this week, I applied for a provisional patent on an idea, and here this is the first attempt at it right here. I don't know if you can't see it on the podcast, but I have it on video. But it's basically a cube that has a door on it. Imagine a cube with a door, and this door can be unlocked and opened 3 ways: using an NFC reader for credit cards and mobile devices, a mobile screen for QR code like in Asia, that's really hot in Asia, and the augmented reality application. You can view the product that's inside the vending unit on your mobile device. While you're looking at it, you're reserving this. This is your opportunity. It's almost like you're grabbing it, right? So it's on your phone, so you're reserving it as you're staring at it on your phone, and then you can purchase it on the phone. Open up. And it'll open up, and then you grab your stuff and walk out. And this came about because I had saw an episode of 60 Minutes years ago, and I thought food desert was pretty fucked up, pretty messed up. And so also during that period, I gained a lot of freaking weight, a lot. I blew up to 245 pounds. Currently, I'm at 155, which is I lost 90 pounds. And during that, I also discovered I had gluten intolerance. And gluten was what was messing me up as a child, which I had talked about really earlier. And what happened was I was just tired, because I went vegan and gluten free, all my ailments of my body are gone. They're gone, like completely gone. And I have read stories of people doing this. They're like, "Oh, everything went away." It's like, what? And I couldn't. It just wouldn't register. I don't know why. It just didn't register. And it took me this long. I'm 48 years old right now. 48. So it's taking me. Man, like my heart used to hurt. It started hurting when I was like 28. Like right now, it doesn't hurt as much. Like maybe just once in a while. But I was having chest pain all the time. And also gluten. Gluten was messing up my entire life. It was literally messing up my entire life. Like I was in a brain fog. I couldn't think. I couldn't read. I couldn't read aloud. It was a very hard time for me to comprehend things. I was always sleeping in school. All the teachers were like, "Jose, why are you always sleeping in school? Why are you always so tired?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just so tired." And I was like, "I have a paper route," but I was only like twice a week, in the afternoon and in the morning. But I was still exhausted. And the teachers would let me sleep. They would just let me sleep in class. And the grades were decent, but I mean, there's teachers. If you're out there, if you're one of my teachers and you remember me sleeping in class, comment below. And so, like, I would sleep like I'd wake up tired, and then I'd sleep on the car ride to school, and then I would go in school, and I'd be like, couldn't keep my eyes open. I'd be sleeping in school. I would sleep on the ride home. I would come home, drop my school bag on my bedroom floor, jump on my bed and pass out. Wake up, eat some dinner, watch some TV maybe, go to sleep, and repeat the process again. Like that was crazy. And you might be asking, Jose, why didn't you see doctors? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, because when I was a kid, I was 4 years old. I was 8 months old, and I was sent to live in Mexico with my grandmother. So I was in Mexico, and from what I can remember, I remember the first time I had told her, I'm like, Grandma, because I remember, like, I was like, man, Grandma, my knees hurt. My stomach is killing me, and I'm exhausted. And she's like, and I remember her telling her, my aunt, she said, go see if the doctors. She said, go see if the doctor's here. Go see if the doctor's there. And she went to go see if the doctor. She said, no, he's not there. He's not there. I said, okay. And then we went to go see another doctor, and we finally saw a doctor, and they just didn't know anything at the time, because I ended up seeing, like, that I can remember, like 10 doctors in 3 different cities, and I saw 2 like here's the crazy part. So I'd see lots of doctors, right? We would go to in the hometown, we probably saw about 3 or 4 doctors from the actual Tarimoro, Guanajuato, from that little town, Pueblo. And I remember we saw a few doctors in Celaya, like maybe 4 doctors in Celaya. And then we went to another city called Salvatierra, and we saw doctors there. And then my brother would come see doctors with us, because we were always sick, always tired. Stomachs were messed up, and our knees were killing us. Well, for me, my knees were always hurting. They'd always check my knees. There was the reflex thing. But so I saw these doctors, and they would give me medicine, but nothing was working because it was a gluten intolerance. Then 4 years old, 4.5 years old, I'm back in the States. Like, time to move back to America, right? I grew up, like, dude, the little town, they had houses built out of mud, and there's mud streets. Like my cousins would work in a factory that made mud bricks. Like, you get the mud, mix it up, and it would turn to a brick. They'd fire it up, and there's a brick and a shingle. That was crazy. I used to help out when I was a kid. Go there. It was great. So it was like coming to America. It was like a big freaking city. And guess what? Didn't speak English. Nope. I'd be in kindergarten, and all the kids would be like, what the fuck are you saying? What language is that? Because I didn't know how to speak. I know how to speak English. I don't even know when I started speaking English. I don't know if it was, did I know some English before kindergarten? Did I know? No, I don't know. I don't remember. So I must have known some English, because I was able to communicate a little bit with some of the kids. So maybe I had that year to learn. Oh, you know what? I did learn English. I learned from watching television, because when my mother was, she would just put me in front of TV. She's like, sit here and watch TV, and that's it. I would just watch television, like zoomed out, like just. Oh, and that's where I got to learn about Electric Company and Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers and all the good stuff. So guys, and after discovering, after being sick, right, I came to the States, and I saw more doctors. One doctor's like, oh, he has asthma. Oh, another doctor's like, oh, we got to take his tonsils out. Took my tonsils out. Still didn't help. So I was just sick. I was just chronically ill. I just began to accept that fact. I was like, I remember one time in the alley when I was a child, and I was like, wow, because my knees were killing me, like throbbing, like painful. And I was like, well, I guess that's what it means to be a human on Earth, to live with this, because I'm like, everybody else is eating and doing the same thing I'm doing, right? So I just didn't click for me. It didn't register. And so let's fast forward really quick how I discovered it. I was working at Gino's Ace Pizza as a security guard, and the reason I couldn't have a let's really backtrack one more step. Couldn't really have a job because I was always sleeping. I was literally sleeping like sometimes maybe 20 hours a day. Like that's like I couldn't move at times. Like it was ridiculous. I couldn't get out of the bed. Like I was frozen because of the gluten intolerance. It was killing the villi, just doing so much damage to my body that I didn't know about. But again, that was normal for me. That was normal. I thought that was normal. And I was working at Gino's East, and a guy was telling me, he's like, "Hey, you guys have gluten-free pizza." I'm like, "I don't even know what that is." And he's like, at that time, I was trying to lose weight too. I was trying to, it was probably a year and a half in, 2 years into my journey of losing weight. I started at 245 pounds. The first year, I lost 25 pounds, got to 220. And that was a big accomplishment because that's what I was at when I went to college the first. Anyway, so he tells me about gluten-free, what gluten is, and I was go home and I was like, because his friend lost 5 pounds. I'm like, hey, I can lose 5 pounds really quick. So I go online, research it. I'm like, well, wait a hold on. This sounds like me. And there's all these symptoms, right? Like, do you have this? Do you have that? I used to have like bumps all right here in the back of my arms. You can't see it, like on my tricep. Bunch of like inverted pores, dark pores, bumps just there. For years. And I was like headaches, brain fog. Like gluten would literally put me in a state of like a zombie-like state. Like literally, I couldn't think, couldn't process. Like I just, what's cool? What's crazy? The Latin word for gluten means glue. Yeah, glue. So that's interesting. But so when I discovered that, the at mindbodygreen.com, great website, what I did was like, I was like, wait a minute, let me try it. And I tried it they're like, try it for 2 weeks, don't eat gluten, right? And it worked. But then for the next 4 or 5 years, I had to start navigating what it meant to be gluten free. Like it was a struggle trying to find out where food. I'm like, what? I'm like, and then there was gluten hidden in certain things that you would have never guessed that you eat, and it makes you sick, and that means being gluten, and being gluten to some people can be extremely terrible. I mean, for me, when I was a child, I would literally be throwing up and having massive diarrhea at the exact same time. Like literally, I'm like coming out in one at the same time. It was terrible. So, discovered I had a gluten intolerance. All my symptoms went away. And I used to have this, dude, you know what was crazy too? I would have like a foul odor that would come out of my mouth. Girlfriends commented, people commented. It was like, it's because of I believe it's because of the villi. When you eat gluten, it kills the villi in your stomach. So I believe that was coming out through your intestinal, your whole tract, right? And so I had got root canals done thinking that was the problem, and no, that wasn't the problem. It was that. And I would get, later on in life, I started developing a thick coating of some yellowish film on my tongue too. Like I was like, man, that's crazy. But again, I was like, man, what's going on with me, man? I was really getting crazy. I started doing research. And I thought I had candida. It was like when you eat too much sugar or carbohydrates. So I started slowing down on that, and I started feeling better because I was reducing my gluten intake. And then it took me a while to find out about the gluten, which totally just flipped the switch. So I had to learn a lot. So and then I went vegan, and then vegan flipped it on me even more. It was like going gluten-free twice. Or if you're vegan, it's like going vegan twice. If you were gluten-free, it's like going gluten-free twice. To go vegan and gluten-free, holy moly. And so those two things changed my life. And that's the reason I want to start Beyond Food Market. I know there's kids out there that are sleeping all the time. just like me, because I discovered it's one of the top 8 allergies in America, and I think even the world. So there isn't any of these allergy-friendly foods in these areas. There's not even really. They're called food deserts for a reason. Food desert is basically, or just an area of the country where it's kind of like hard to get nutritious foods at a consistent basis. And because of what I went through, I want to bring food in there to bring awareness. I want to just be like, I want to be a gluten intolerance advocate. That's what I want. That's what I want to talk about. Gluten intolerance and the effects it has on the human body. And for those reasons, that's what Beyond Food Market, that's the idea. Now, can an idea turn into a company? That's what Beyond Food Market is going, that's what you're going to be listening to, the journey. From a guy that had an idea. And this guy used to be a piece of shit too. Forgot to tell you that, right? Gotta tell you that. Cheat, lie, steal, do some evil shit, fucked up stuff. But, what the fuck, I haven't done my taxes for years, just barely did that. Like my life was just like a freaking train wreck, bro. Like I can't even believe how messed up it was. So I've been slowly trying to get everything back on track, lose weight. I mean, losing big time weight too. I feel great. So because of that, I'm like, man, Jose, you know what? You gotta just tell people. You know how when you find out something good and you're like, yo, you gotta try this? That's all I want to do. I want to be like, hey, man, hey, you gotta try this. It's pretty good. And I'm not gonna be like trying to be forced veganism. I'm not gonna force trying to be gluten free, because for lots of reasons, like I've been there. I'm not trying to convert nobody. I'm gonna just provide it because I know there's people in these areas, in these communities, that have been asking for it for years. And I hope that this idea can work. I hope it can come to fruition. So the next step is now I'm going to try and make a prototype. Now I've been working at DePaul University at their Idea Realization Lab. This right here, I made this when I was at the Polsky Center working on my first project. My brother had funded that first year of me, at Polsky Center and all the other things I was working on for that year. So thanks, Javier. Shout out to my brother. And my sister Christina, I've been living here. She pays all the bills here. So shout out to my sister Christina, and my sister Diana she's the one that actually has given me $1,000 investment to get this prototype. So once I get this prototype, it's all on me to see if it's going to turn into something. So guys, why don't you stick around, subscribe, listen to the next podcast, or if you have any questions, let me know. If you need any more clarification, because I ran through a lot of stuff here. I'm on the continual process of trying to become a better human. Shout out to Gary Vaynerchuk. I've been listening to him. I've been posting on YouTube for about a year. Since November, maybe when my first video. So shout out to Gary. Thanks a lot, guys. Follow Gary Vaynerchuk. I guess that's it, man. Appreciate you listening to the second podcast. So guys, the next podcast we're going to be talking about, I'm just going to do a weekly thing. So let's recap. What did I get done this week? Number one, I submitted the provisional patent for this box, this all-in-one vending unit box. And the reason I think this is going to work, let me just one last thing before we go, is because I feel a lot of things are commoditized now. Like the screens, these NFC readers, a box, and I'm going to use Peltier technology. It's like the little refrigerators that you put on the counter. That's it. So that's what we accomplished. did the provisional patent for this. It's going to be run by augmented reality application as well. Number 2, mailed off my federal taxes. That's great. And number 3, I've also been revising and cleaning up a pitch deck that I had made last year at Operation Hope while I was doing it in Inglewood. And for what I'm going to do is I'm making it because I saw on Twitter about 2 months ago the city of Dallas was taking requests for ideas to help in their food deserts. And I was like, man, you know what? I want to do that. But I had to wait until now. I had to wait until today, until 2 days ago, to finally submit this so I can start showing it. And because I wanted to have a little bit of IP, I guess, because I had listened to mentors, and I just think that was a good route to go, So I did. And I'm not a patent attorney, so let's see if it works, right? All right, guys. That's about it. If you have any comments or questions, comment below, subscribe, let me know. And the next episode is going to be next week, what we accomplished for next week. So what's today, Saturday or Sunday? Okay, so how about we do a daily, every weekly Sunday thing? So guys, that's it for today. Thanks for listening to my story. Love you guys. Bye.